Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where as promised, we are fully refueled on our tanker ship. And it took, in addition to the one that I did on camera, it took 6 additional refueling flights to get this thing fully refueled. The last one was maybe not strictly speaking necessary. It was only like a quarter of the fuel that made it here that we ended up using, and there were definitely a couple of crashes, but mostly it was successfully recovered. And we did receive for each of those a payment for 200,000. So we're now at almost 2 million, and so we've built up a bit of a nest egg. That'll probably last us until we're done here. But we do need to move this guy back to the lunar gateway. So let's go ahead and set the moon as our target. What is our inclination here? 0.3. Okay, that doesn't seem too bad. We'll just add a maneuver about here and push out over this direction or so. Little later? Okay. Sometime around here, we want a nice retrograde orbit. This will be a little bit more prograde of a burn in order to achieve a retrograde orbit. Okay, somewhere around here, I think 2 to 300k is fine. So we'll just put it at about 300k. Excellent. Somewhere around here or so. Looks good. We'll align to that node. Oh, I haven't closed the docking port yet. We'll go ahead and close that shield. Absolutely fantastic. And let's warp our way on through here. Okay, so we're going to position there and warp forward about an extra hour here. All of that looks good. And we've got 1x time warp here. Excellent. So we're going to be departing... Hang on. We're not controlling from the right point. Control from here. It changes that to something completely different every time we dock, and I'm not sure why. It feels like we're maybe pointing like this docking port might be the one we're controlling from. I don't know. It's very strange. Regardless, we need to align to this node because we need to start this burn in about 30 seconds, right? So we're going to head on over here. We've got about 10 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Mark. I'm going to start the burn, but we're not quite pointing the correct direction. We're going to have to do a little bit of corrective steering on that, so let's just make our way over to here and correct that just a smidgen. Okay, that should be reasonably good. It's probably good enough, at any rate. So that'll be absolutely fine. We are going to be hauling this fuel on over to the lunar gateway, and we're not going to do this too many more times. We're going to have a different fuel solution for the lunar gateway. So that will be absolutely wonderful because this is a tedious process. There's no doubt about that. It's extraordinarily tedious, and I don't want to have to do this for too much longer. This is a stopgap measure. Eventually, this is just going to become a permanent tank affixed to the lunar gateway. And that will be absolutely great. What we're going to do instead, of course, is we are going to create a mining solution on the moon. And that will be phenomenal. So we've got about 2.6 meters per second here. Okay, we can just get that last little bit. We're pushing it a bit, though. This actually looks good enough. I'm completely okay with this. And let's warp forward, see if this breaks at all. Nope, looks good. We're going to set up a maneuver here, and we're going to retrograde burn into a circularized orbit. Something along the lines of this. Beautiful. Okay, we'll align to that node, and as soon as we're reasonably close, we'll warp forward. I want to warp forward from the map view because at this point, I'm always paranoid that whenever we're doing any sort of a interbody transfer here, that our Hohmann transfer is going to change significantly on us when we start the warp. It's happened enough times that I'm just like, I just assume it's going to happen every time. Okay, let's warp forward and we'll see. It did change a little bit, but this is an acceptable change. I don't mind that change at all. So that'll be fine. No issues whatsoever there. It might change our overall delta V on that burn, but it looks okay. We're not in like a collision course or something. That would be problematic. No doubt about that. Okay, so we've got about another hour and a half until this burn. Continuing to warp forward. We're likely going to be occluded. Not quite occluded. Okay, we might become, like we might lose contact here with the KSC during this burn. We'll see. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, so this is all looking absolutely fine. We are likely to lose contact with the KSC, and if we do, we'll just have to warp around. We just want to get ourselves into our orbit here. Okay, fantastic. So we're just getting this nice and circularized, almost there. That's good enough. We'll put that on kill rod. Okay, so this is not exactly circularized, is it? No, it is not. Okay, that's probably because of the transfer there. It just meant that we burned at slightly the wrong timing. It's not actually a big deal. It's good enough. So we'll set the Lunar Gateway as our target. We can see we're 3.9 degrees off. If we were to warp here, this is actually acceptable. We'll still have a connection, although we're going to lose our connection any moment now. So we need to get this set up relatively quickly here. Other direction. Thank you very much. Okay. So right about... That's very sensitive. Right about there or so. And we'll head over to that node. Our connection will be going away very, very shortly, but that's fine. We got everything that we needed for this dark side transit absolutely completed. So that looks great. We'll just get ourselves aligned for this inclination change, and let's warp on forward. There goes our connection, although by the time we get back to this burn, we should have our connection back. So no problem whatsoever there, or very close to having our connection back. Either way, yeah, there's a connection. Fantastic. No problem whatsoever. Perfect blackout period. So we've got about 50 seconds here, and we'll get that inclination change done. 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. A very, very small burn here. I'm probably going to call this good enough. There, that's good enough. Okay, so that looks good. Next, at the periapsis, we could circularize this. Let's see if that's actually necessary. Let's bring this guy on in, and actually, that's really, really close to an encounter. We can just delay it ever so slightly and have the encounter be here. We don't need to do any circularization. This is kind of perfect. So that looks good. 1.2 kilometers, 51.4 meters per second. No problem. Let's align to that node and get ourselves into position here. And obviously, while we're doing this, our Kerbals are still on the surface of the moon. We're going to have to bring them back up as well. So that'll be fine. There's multiple stages to each of these missions, and we're just going to warp on over here. We've got about 5 minutes left. 3, 2, 1, and 0. Fantastic. And we've got another roughly minute here before we do our breaking burn. 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, so there's our Hohmann transfer virtually completed. We're still 1.1 meters per second off. We are going to be very, very close here. I'm just letting us head on down and get this small correction to it. Okay, it's definitely pushing away. That's good enough. 1 kilometer? Yeah, we're absolutely okay with that. So we're going this direction, and that means that we need to warp to approximately here. That's about 40 minutes in the future, and that will be absolutely fine. So we're going to hop over into target mode, and the question is, how are we going to be lining up here in terms of our relative orbits, right? So let's just bring this right on in and see, where is that station? There it is. It's currently about 60 kilometers away. We're going to want to head in a little closer than this, I suspect. Well, I don't know. It's 15 kilometers. We're not too far off on the node here. So I'm just going to position us over at relative velocity minus, and we'll see how close we are after this turn. So we'll just head on over here. We probably are going to want to do some sort of a corrective burn, but it will be more effective if we wait a little bit longer. So we're 11 kilometers out right now. I think that we should bring this in a little closer to about here, about 2 minutes in the future, and let's see where that puts us. I'm keeping an eye on the nodes here. It's not too bad. Okay. So let's just position ourselves out over this way. I'm going to put us in kill rot. And we are going to do a small corrective burn now that we're about 5 kilometers away. We're going to do a small corrective burn out this direction. It does not need to be particularly significant. I don't want to decelerate too much. I more want to be changing our velocity and less want to be, well, more like changing our trajectory and less changing our velocity. Okay, somewhere around there. It's not perfect, but that should be an improvement. 0.0 kilometers is actually pretty close. Okay, we'll call that reasonable. Let's move over to relative velocity minus. We're still about 3.5 kilometers away, but the thrust to weight in this thing is plenty high. We should have absolutely no problem whatsoever getting rid of that 4.2 or 42 meters per second very, very quickly. Okay, so we're about 3 kilometers out now. We're closing in kinda slowly, no doubt about that. Let's just let ourselves position here. And then I'm going to warp us in. We're going to load in the station now. There it is. And we're just coming on in here. I'm looking at our trajectory here. We're going to come in underneath it. Okay, that's reasonably fine. Let's come out of the warp, and we know that we want to attach this on, like, the opposite side out over here. So let's begin our braking burn. I'm not doing this at full velocity yet, although now we should. Okay, so we're moving at about 3 meters per second at this point. And I think this is actually the docking port that we want to dock at, if I recall correctly. I definitely hit the wrong button there. Okay. That's fine. I did not mean to throttle up to full. We're now moving away from the station, and we have to flip all the way around. We would have had to flip around anyway, but I would have preferred to do that without heading away from the station. That would have been ideal. But this does have the correct docking port selected, which is, or not exactly selected, but it's very, very close there. So that is not too bad. Okay, let's continue to physics warp our turn here, and we want to bring this down. Excellent. A little more. Okay, now I want to be pointing at target. We're still moving away at about 2.1 meters per second. Let's get this flipped around and start moving towards target at somewhere around 2 meters per second. 2.1? Sure, that's fine. Let's adjust our velocity this way. There we go. Utilizing the RCS to put us exactly where we want to be. That looks solid. We should probably open up this shield also. What's up with this strut connector? I'm going to disconnect that strut connector for right now. That'll be fine. We'll reconnect it later. There's plenty of struts over there, so I'm not too concerned about that one. So we're currently about 400 meters out. I do want to come over here. I want to grab this docking port and control from here. I'd like to set this as our target. Okay. It doesn't want to set that as the target. We're still too far away. Let's let this warp in a little bit. Is this close enough? Nope. Let's let it head on in a little closer. There we go. We'll set that as our target. We can see we're about 200 meters out right now. And we should be absolutely fine to just point this at target. Yeah. No problem here. We might have a little bit of swaying up this way, but most of our control mechanism should be down here, as well as most of our weight. So that's okay. I do want to do some adjustment with our velocity here. So we'll just do a quick change of our velocity. We're also moving in at 2.2 meters per second, which is maybe a little on the fast side. Okay, so let's do a little bit of braking maneuver here. So we're down to 2 meters per second. And I'm just going to break this down to probably like 0.5 meter per second overall. It needs to brake quite a lot. So 1.5, 1.4, 1.3. Yep, this definitely needs to continue to come down. We're still about 100 meters out, so we've got lots and lots of time for this. No problem. And let's bring it to 0.5 meter per second and just get us in position there. This, at this point, does not need to be attempting to fight this anymore, but that's fine. Let's just change this overall positioning. That's a little over-braked, actually. So there we go. Something along the lines of that. Now, as far as our rotation goes, I want to bring this in with these perpendicular to the rest of the station for space consideration reasons. So we're just going to position this right up over here. Overshot that a little. Bringing it back. Right about here or so. Okay, that looks reasonably fine for the moment. Let's adjust our velocity that extra little bit that we might need, and we can warp in a little closer, keeping an eye on our relative velocity and target positions. It's looking pretty good, but we should definitely make a slight change here. There we go. And we're really, really close at this point. We could slow down even further. I'm going to do that a little bit, taking it down to about 0.3 meters per second. Looks solid. And we should get docked in here very, very soon. Now, this is all unmanned, right? We have no one here at the station right now, so we can't strut any of this together. That is absolutely fine, but this thing is going to want to rock all over the place. So we're just going to park this in like this, and Smart ASS goes off. So that's absolutely fine for the moment, but what we want to do right now is check this fuel here. This fuel is going to be moved into here. So we'll just put it like here for now. Beautiful. That'll be absolutely okay, and we can now ditch this decoupler. We do not need it. It can go away. Fantastic. There's definitely some swaying happening here, but let's just let this clear. That looks absolutely fine. Next, we should go fetch our Kerbals, who have, I'm sure, been busy doing all sorts of extraordinarily important experiments on the surface of the moon. So let's hop over here, and we're going to grab it. Thinks that this is the lunar gateway. Hilarious. They are on the night side right now. I wonder if they have power. They might not have power at this point. Okay, let's hop over here. They should be safe. There shouldn't be any tip over in this location, even without the reaction wheels. We'll see if they still have power or not. So they're landed at the moon's east crater right now. And this is going to be sliding downhill. It looks like they do have power. It looks like they barely used any power while we were gone. Okay, so I guess it must not have utilized the reaction wheels at all while this wasn't loaded. They're going to run out of power eventually, but it will come back. Like, if we just turn off the Smart ASS, this shouldn't tip over. Yeah, see, it's absolutely fine. And this electric charge, it will go down very slowly, but that is okay. So we can see that we're currently pointing like the 90-degree marker. We want to head over towards the 270-degree marker, which is this one right up over here. But these guys have done whatever science it is that they're going to do on their skiing expedition, I guess. And we are going to head out of here. So I'm going to put this back on up, and we are going to lift off. We are absolutely completed here for the time being. So let's go. Landing gear away. And I'm going to put us in kill rot, and we're going to head down on this 270-degree marker. But I want mostly to have some verticality at this point. Some amount of horizontal speed is good, but we're just going to put it right about here. Okay, we're going to burn here until such a time as we have about, I don't know, 5 is probably plenty, but let's give it to about 10-kilometer apoapsis. That'll be okay. You know what? Even this is fine. I'm going to horizontal velocity up. Cool. So we're at 274 right now. That's a little off. We'll want to get that fixed to be right off over this way. How's that looking? 271? Okay, we need a little bit of correction still. That looks about right. Fantastic. So we can see our apoapsis height is continuing to increase. Our time to apoapsis is currently going down, which isn't necessarily ideal. Oh, we're back at 271. Okay, let's do a small correction out over this way. How's that looking? That should do the trick. Still at 271. Okay. It is getting harder and harder to correct that. as we get more velocity here, but that should be very, very close anyway. So there we go. We can see that our time to apoapsis is going down, but it's going down slowly. That's going to flip around very, very soon. So that looks good. No problem whatsoever there. We have almost enough horizontal speed to be considered in orbital velocity here. We need about 100 meters per second more. That's really not too bad. So we're just going to burn here until our apoapsis hits 20 kilometers, which is going to start going up quickly very, very, very soon. And that'll be absolutely great. Yeah, we can see time to apoapsis is now increasing. And we're at basically orbital speed at this point. So we'll just take this up to 20 kilometers, as I said. Cool. No problems whatsoever here. There we go. We're in orbital mode. I guess we're going for 24 kilometers because I overshot that. That's absolutely fine. So we'll just add a maneuver there and circularize this, and then we'll do our rendezvous with the Lunar Gateway. Excellent. I do want to hop in here. The problem here is if we configure the vessel naming, we can see that the Lunar Gateway is at name priority 10. I want this to be the HLS at priority, like, 9. There we go. So this is now the HLS at priority level 9. And it is considered a lander, although that icon is kind of dated. But that's absolutely okay. So we're going to align to this node. So let's get ourselves spun on around. This thing is so much more reactive with these reaction wheels. It's kind of remarkable. I mean, that's what they're designed to do. But it feels so much better to fly. That's for sure. It's still kind of slow. But let's warp on through. Fantastic. And we're going to head over to the apoapsis here and just get ourselves circularized. I want to go up into not radar velocity, sea level altitude. What is radar velocity? That's not a thing in this game. I mean, I think that's a thing in reality. It definitely is. That's, I'm pretty sure how police officers pull you over. But that's not a thing in KSP. We're going to warp forward a little further, 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10. This is going to be a very, very small burn. I'm not full throttling this. Somewhere around here or so. And we're just putting this periapsis up to roughly circularized. That'll do. We'll put it in kill rot, and we're, of course, going to set the Lunar Gateway, not the debris, but the Lunar Gateway itself as our target. There we go. How's our inclination? 2.7. Oh my, okay. So we're currently here. We want to go over to the ascending node, and we'll do an inclination change there. Minus 2.7. Okay, so we'll just have to get that changed a little bit. Something along the lines of that. What is our current inclination? 177.2? Okay, yeah, so that is a little off of equatorial in retrograde. Absolutely. About that same amount. Like, I think this is 0.1 degrees off the Lunar Gateway. That's fine. So we're just going to get into position over here, and it might have been actually nudged out of that position from various dockings and undockings and Kerbal bounces and who knows. So we're just going to warp on through here. We're going to get that inclination change done in 4 minutes. Excellent. This will be a 4-second burn. That's absolutely fine. 25.2 meters per second. 40 seconds. 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Getting that last little bit done there. That'll do. So we'll put this on kill rot. And at this point, we should be in a 0.0 degree inclination apart from our Lunar Gateway. Now the question is, if we were to burn, say, at the apoapsis, where would that put us relative to the station? That's actually really close. Okay, looks good. It needs to be a little before the apoapsis, sometime around here. 0.7 kilometers. That looks great. We're going to do that. Let's get aligned for that burn. Excellent. As we come in, I'm definitely going to stow these Gigantors. They're really only needed on the surface, so that's fine. We're going to warp on through. There we go, and we'll commence this burn in about a minute after this warp completes. So we've got 2 minutes, 1 minute, and there we go. Warp is complete, but let's warp a little further. 50 seconds, 40, 30, 20, 10, And 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. There we go. So we are heading out to the lunar gateway. 0.4 meters per second off. We'll call that good enough. Okay. So at this point, apparently our target cleared. That's awkward. I want to grab the lunar gateway. There we go. Set as target. And we want to warp to somewhere around here. Excellent. We'll move into target mode. And let's see where we're at here. What's our relative speed going to be? It's going to be 35 meters per second. Okay, we want to exit this right now and get turning around to relative velocity minus. We are a little bit off here, but I'm not going to do any sort of a correction just yet. Okay, so let's get moved around to relative velocity minus, and let's warp in a little bit closer here. 35 meters per second is not a particularly large differential, and we should probably consider retracting our solar panels right now. Or these solar panels, anyway. Okay, so let's get those out of the way. We should have plenty. Wow, there's just kind of debris everywhere out here. I should probably clean that up. No doubt about that. There's a lot of debris out over this way. And that is absolutely expected. Okay, I'm going to do a quick corrective burn here, putting us somewhere around here or so. Station will be loading in shortly, and we're only moving at about 30 meters per second apart from it, so that's fine. Okay, just getting these corrections complete. That should do. Relative velocity minus now, and what does that put us at? 0.1? Good enough. Fantastic. So 27.5 meters per second apart, and let's bring this in on final approach. Station loading in now. There it is. 2 kilometers away, 1.5 kilometers away, 1 kilometer away. Okay, so we of course want to get this thing docked up, and I want to dock it to the opposite side of where this guy is, right? So that's going to be a little bit interesting to get to because of the lack of lashing down over here. This thing is going to want to spin all over the place if we spin it. So that means that we're going to need to bring this thing in on a slightly different angle. That's okay. We now know the angle that we're coming in at, and let's just bring this to a halt, and we'll get this docked up in the next episode. That'll be absolutely fine for right now. So we're 3 meters per second apart. Let's just get this brought to a halt. We're going to need to move up over here. That's absolutely fine. Okay, something along the lines of that. So next episode, we're going to get this docked up, we're going to get it refueled, and get these guys heading back to Kerbal. Speaking of which, we'll have to get our payment for this refueling mission, and we should do that while I'm thinking about it. So let's grab that now. That puts us up to 2.1 million. That sounds good. And then we'll get another one once these guys land. So we should have a pretty decent nest egg at this point to get to work on retiring our current fueling system, which would be great. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video. And as always, I will see you all next time.